Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Authors Guild. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Authors Guild webinar on mailing lists. So we're going to be talking mostly about how to set up a mailing list and how to kind of put it on autopilot afterwards so that you don't have to keep working on it every day. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Ricardo Fayet. And I'm one of the founders of Reedsy. So you've got my email address in this slide, and I'll put in the last slide as well. So if you have any questions about the webinar afterwards or things you want to send to me or feedback, then feel free to use it. I always answer emails. And if you've never heard about Reedsy, we're basically an international community of best-in-class publishing professionals. So that's editors, designers, marketers as well, website designers. So a place where you can go and hire vetted professionals for any kind of need you'd have in your writing career. I've personally written several courses on Reedsy around mailing lists. I've done several conference talks around mailing lists and ads as well. And today as I said, I'm gonna focus on the basics of the mailing list. So what email marketing service you should use. Everyone knows about Mailchimp, I guess, but there's another one, or actually two other ones that could make sense for a lot of people. Then I'm going to go over how to create your first lists, which is a bit more complicated than it sounds. And then how to grow your list and engage with readers on autopilot using reader magnets and welcome automations. That's going to be the bulk of the presentation. So there's still a lot of authors I talk to out there who ask me, do I really need a mailing list? I know a few authors who do really well without a mailing list, but I'd say that by now they're a minority. I think everyone kind of agrees on the importance of having a mailing list as an individual author, whether you're self-published or you're traditionally published. And so the reason for that is, as I like to say, if you're a debut author and publish your first book and it sells 50,000 copies. Now you don't have a mailing list. When you release book 2, the big question is, who is going to tell these 50,000 readers who purchased and probably read your first book that book 2 is out? Now you might have a Facebook page, so you can put it on there and some people are going to see that. If readers purchase your first book on Amazon, Amazon's probably going to tell them, hey, the book 2 from this author you enjoyed is out as well. But it's not going to send that message to everyone. And same, BookBub has a follow the author feature. So if people follow you on BookBub, they'll get a notification. You can send them a notification through the BookBub system that book 2 is out. So there are a bunch of third-party tools you can use to kind of notify readers that book 2 is out. But none of them belongs to you. Facebook is obviously controlled by Facebook. Amazon, we know them. BookBub is third-party as well. And more importantly, they're not going to reach your entire reader base because not everyone has purchased a book on Amazon, and Amazon doesn't tell all the readers. Not everyone's on BookBub, not everyone's on Facebook. So you want to have a system, a way to communicate effectively to your readers that this new book is out. And the most effective way to do that is a mailing list. So what email marketing service should you use to set up your mailing list and keep using it? For me, there are really two big go-to providers when it comes to author mailing lists. If we go into more complicated stuff, then we're going to mention a third one. But if you're just going to send regular newsletters, have a welcome automation, have a sign-up form, then I think Mailchimp and Mailerlite are probably the easiest ones to get used to, and also the most popular ones. So I've written a long post comparing Mailchimp and Mailerlite that I'll link to in a further slide, but the basics of it are Mailchimp is the oldest one, is the most advanced one. It's the one where you'll have the most capabilities to design emails. So if you want to add buttons, if you want to add images, if you want to add even videos, you can do a lot of things to design your email very nicely using Mailchimp. Mailerlite has copied that. And it has a nice interface as well, but it's not as powerful. It's not as user-friendly when it comes to designing the newsletters. The one advantage Mailerlite has over Mailchimp, aside from price, which we'll see later, is around targeting. So if you set up automating sequences, like we'll be talking about those later, Mailerlite is more user-friendly when it comes to tagging readers in your mailing list, tagging subscribers, and then segmenting your emails and triggering automations based on those tags and segments. Mailchimp can do that as well, but it gets a bit confusing sometimes. And the main difference between Mailchimp and Mailerlite is around pricing. And that's not just the pricing overall, it's that on Mailchimp, if you have two lists and you have one subscriber that is in both lists, Mailchimp is going to count that subscriber twice. Whether Mailerlite's only going to count that subscriber once. So what this means basically is we look at this pricing table. Both services have a free plan of up to 1,000 or 2,000 subscribers. So you can sign up for a free account both on Mailchimp and Mailerlite and keep using those for free up and until you reach the limit of 1,000 or 2,000 subscribers in your list. After that, as you can see, the pricings vary quite wildly. When you're at like 2,500 subscribers on Mailchimp, you're already paying $35 a month. Whereas with $35 a month, you can have up to 10,000 subscribers on Mailerlite. So it's a lot cheaper. Mailerlite is a lot cheaper than Mailchimp. And as I was mentioning, if you have two lists on Mailchimp and you have a subscriber that is in both lists, it gets counted twice. So if you have two lists of, let's say, 3,000 people, and you have 50% overlap between these two lists, you're actually going to be paying for 3,000 plus 1,500, so 4,500 people. Whether on Mailerlite, you'd only be paying for 3,000 people because Mailerlite only counts one subscriber even if they're in several lists. So my recommendation is if you don't have a mailing list, to start it on Mailchimp because it's free. You'll have all the features. It's the most popular service email marketing provider out there. Mailerlite has had a really good start. It's had some problems, some bugs in the last few years. So you're safer with Mailchimp. But you should consider switching to Mailerlite if your list grows a lot and Mailchimp becomes too expensive for you, or if you use a lot of automations and you don't like Mailchimp's tagging and segmenting and triggering options. Now, if you're writing nonfiction or if you have a lot of series and universes and you need a lot of segmenting options, and if you have a lot of complicated automations, I've heard really good things about ConvertKit. I haven't tested it personally, but ConvertKit is really focused on that. It's for people who use email marketing in a more advanced way and in a more automated way as well. They don't have any option for designing the email because they believe that kind of plain emails work best in terms of deliverability. So you won't be able to insert like fancy HTML formatting like you can on Mailchimp and Mailerlite. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. So as I said, if you use email marketing a lot and you have a lot of different automations, a lot of different segments, ConvertKit is also a good option. So I'll be able to get the slides to you afterwards. And I've put some links in there so you can go to this post on Jane Friedman's blog where I kind of go over the main differences between Mailchimp, Mailerlite, and ConvertKit in more detail. All right, for the rest of the webinar, I'm really going to focus on Mailchimp because as I was saying, it's my recommendation if you're starting out, and it's probably the most popular email marketing platform out there. And we're going to start with creating your first list and creating your first sign-up form, which is where anyone should start if you don't have a mailing list yet. If you do have one, I'm going to go over a lot of things that I think you can go back to and optimize, especially around the sign-up form. So to create your first list, very easy. You go to Mailchimp.com, you register for a free account, and immediately you're going to be prompted with a message asking you to create a list, because that's where everything starts. So to create a list, you have to give the list a name, and then you have to indicate a sender email, which means which email of yours are the newsletter is going to come from. So if you want people to not be able to reply to your newsletters, which is a bit weird, but some brands do that, you can set up a no reply email, for example. Or if you want other people to have access to the people who reply to your newsletters, you can use kind of a Gmail group. So it's up to you, but you need to set up a default from email address to create the list. Then as well, a default name as well, so probably your pen name. Then there's going to be a little form where you can set up what I call the how you signed up reminder. Basically, at the bottom of all the newsletters you send, readers, subscribers can click on, if they don't remember why they're getting this email, they can click on why am I getting this email? And then that's the message that you pre-populated when you created your list that says, you're getting this email because you signed up to get news and new releases from this pen name. And Mailchimp also gives you two little boxes here where you can enable double opt-in and enable GDPR fields. I recommend people do not do that. It's kind of extra security, but it makes it really, really hard for readers to sign up to your list. Like, it creates a lot of extra steps. I'll cover GDPR later, and I'll explain what you should be doing for GDPR, but you don't need to enable the GDPR fields on Mailchimp's, when you create a list on Mailchimp to be compliant with GDPR, basically. Some important things, obviously, if this is your first list, don't import all your contacts from your phone or your Gmail or whatever. Just import people who you know are readers of your books, and make those people aware that you're adding them to your first list. Basically, send them an email, maybe, hey, I'm creating my first mailing list, and to send you newsletters. I hope you don't mind if I add you in there. And obviously, never buy a list. I've never heard of an author actually doing that, but it's standard advice I always give, because you might be getting some emails from people selling you lists of email addresses, and that can sound interesting to blast a whole email list with, here's my book, but that's just gonna Mailchimp's immediately gonna find that out because of the spam responses you're gonna get, and it's probably gonna suspend your account. So never buy a list and never email a list that you didn't acquire yourself. The second step is to set up your sign-up form. So once you've created a list, you'll be able to go to sign-up forms here, and you click on the form builder on top. Then you've got the possibility to embed it on your website. I generally recommend you work with a website designer, with the person who set up your website, to put it in there. But you can, on your own, design what this sign-up form is going to look like using the form builder. So it looks like this. Here's a second screenshot at the bottom. You're going to be able to edit this title. So here, for example, is a monthly manuscript assessment contest we run on Readsy. So we want that when people sign up to that list, they immediately see Readsy's manuscript assessment contest and not Readsy or Readsy blog or whatever in there. So that we really reinforce the idea that they're signing up for this contest. Then you can add a little sentence or two about what they're signing up to, and then basically Mailchimp's going to display the fields for the email address, the first name, and the last name. If your newsletter entails a special offer, like I was saying with the contest, make sure to mention it, put it in the title so that it's immediately clear to the reader, to the subscriber, what they're signing up to. If you're going to send different newsletter types, so if you segment your list, I'm going to be talking about that later, but if you segment your list and you want subscribers to opt in to different things, you can create a group in the list and have them select the group when they sign up. So for example, when people sign up to Readsy or to your blog, in the sign-up form, we have this. What are you looking to learn more about? Because we send emails about writing, we send emails about publishing, about marketing, about design. We also send writing prompts. So we want them to tell us basically what they want to receive. So if you have different universes, different series, maybe you can set up different groups like that. If you write nonfiction, you've got different types of courses or different types of series as well. I also recommend you segment your list. More importantly, because I don't think everyone here is going to have segmenting issues, don't forget to customize all the steps in the sign-up flow. Here we've been talking only about the sign-up form, so when people enter their email address and their contact details, basically first name, last name, and their email preferences. But then there's also the sign-up. There's a sign-up thank you page. So after they've filled in their information and click confirm, Mailchimp's going to display them a sign-up thank you page, so you can customize that one as well. There's going to be an opt-in. So probably, as you know, when you sign up to a newsletter, you sign up on a sign-up form, and then you get an email saying confirm your sign up to the newsletter. So this is what we call an opt-in confirmation email. And this is to make sure that you don't get any spam bots signing up to your newsletter. So again, you should customize that opt-in confirmation email. You can customize, I think, the subject line and the title and the message in there, so that when people go to their inbox to click on the confirmation email, they find it immediately and they know there's basically there's the same branding throughout the whole sign-up flow. Then if you use CAPTCHA, you can customize that well. Confirmation thank you page. So once people have clicked confirm in the email, again, they're taking to a Mailchimp generated web page that says thank you for completing your sign up. If you're offering a freebie as part of the sign up to their newsletter, that's a good place, a confirmation thank you page, where you can say thank you for confirming your subscription. The freebie is on its way. So don't forget basically to customize the whole flow and to have a clear branding throughout it, because that makes a big difference to the subscriber when they're signing up to your newsletter. An easy way to see if you're happy with the flow is to test it yourself. Just put in one of your email addresses in the sign-up form and see what happens. See what the flow looks like. See when you get the confirmation email, what the confirmation email looks like, what happens when you click on confirm, etc. Test it yourself a few times until you're really happy with it. Now, big question afterwards is, once you've got this really nice kind of sign-up form, where do you put it? So as I said, the first thing is probably to embed it on your website. So you can work, if you know how to do that yourself, that's amazing. There are plugins on WordPress to embed sign-up forms pretty easily. Otherwise, you can work with your publisher on that if your publisher designs your website, or you can work with your website designer if you hired a website designer. But you probably want that sign-up form front and center on your website. I know a lot of authors want to push the books they're selling first on the website rather than a sign-up form, because they want to get sales on their books. Makes total sense. But think about it this way: if a reader lands on your website, in 90% of the cases, it's because they've read your book or they've heard your name and they want to know more about you. So they're not necessarily interested in seeing the books or buying the books you've written. They probably bought them already, but they're going to be interested in signing up to your newsletter to get more news and to be alerted of any new releases. So I recommend putting the newsletter sign-up form front and center on the website. So here's Mark Dawson's, a prominent indie author, website. The only thing you can see on his website is a really nice thriller image and a sign-up form to sign up to his newsletter. I also recommend you put it in as many places on social media as you can. So you can put it on, can put a link to your sign-up form on Goodreads, on your Goodreads profile. You can put it on your Amazon Author Central as well. It's not going to show up as a link, but if readers copy-paste it into their browser, that's going to achieve the same results. I recommend you add it to all your social media bios. So here I'm taking the example of Diana Urban. She actually puts it as the offer to sign up through her newsletter through her website. She puts it as a cover picture on Twitter. So you can do that, put the link in there. Obviously, people are not going to be able to click that link, but if it's an easy one, like firstname, lastname.com, people are going to be able to write that into their browser. So the more places you have an easy access to your newsletter sign-up form to, the better. I also recommend that you add that sign-up form, and that's probably where you're going to get the most use out of it, in the back matter and the front matter of all your books. So you might have to work with your publisher to do that. If you're self-publishing, it's pretty simple. Just create an extra page in the back matter, probably right after the end of the book, where you say, sign up to my newsletter to be the first one to know when the next book's out. The reason I recommend you also add it to the front matter is that a lot of readers use the look inside feature on Amazon. You know, when you go on Amazon, a lot of readers, before they buy the book, they click on the cover and they can read a portion of the book. I don't remember what percentage it is, but they can read a portion of the book for free. And if in the front matter, if when they click on this look inside, the first thing they see is kind of sign up to my newsletter and a nice offer to sign up to your newsletter, you might actually capture newsletter subscribers who don't necessarily buy your book, but who sign up to your newsletter. So that's always something. Now, one thing that you'll see on all these examples I've put here on the right is that they're all offering something to entice people to sign up to your newsletter. So it's a very common thing nowadays, and it's common because it works. It still works really well. So all of them are offering a free book, but there are other things that you can offer. And this is what we call reader magnets. So it's what we're going to talk next. So step 5, after creating your list, creating your sign-up form, and all that, is to create a reader magnet. So a reader magnet is a term coined by Nick Stevenson, who's a UK indie author of thrillers, and who says reader magnets are something of value that you give to your readers in exchange for an email address. In the blogging world, in the content marketing world, we know them as lead magnets, basically. If any big blog that you go to is probably going to have it. Something in the sidebar saying, sign up to your newsletter to get this free checklist, or to get this free whatever it is. And this works really, really well to grow your list organically. Because when people see this offer again on your website, on Goodreads, on the Amazon Author Central, on your social media, in the back matter of all your books, you're basically going to get newsletter subscribers organically through that without even the need to advertise. But you can also advertise the reader magnet. So some reader magnet ideas. Obviously, the free ebook is the first thing that comes to mind. Your writers, so you know how to produce a book, you know how to produce an ebook. So even if you're traditionally published, you can create a free ebook. It's generally going to be a novella, or it can be a full novel if you're writing fiction. But it's generally going to be a short work that you give for free in exchange for a newsletter sign up. The most common are prequel novellas, full first in series. Obviously, you're not going to give up book 4 or book 8 in a series as a free newsletter sign up, because it doesn't really make sense to the reader. Some people like Mark Dawson offer a full box set. I think he offers the first 3 books in his Milton series. So if you have a lot of books out there and you really want to get a lot of newsletter subscribers, the more you offer, the more subscribers are going to take the bait, basically. But free books are not necessarily the only thing you can play with. If you just have one book out there and you don't want to write another one that you just give for free in exchange for a sign up, you can play with other things. So you can offer deleted scenes in fiction, character backstories, preview chapters of the next book, any kind of bonus content that you can think of. You can also do giveaways, raffle prize giveaways, and as a bonus for signing up to your newsletter, everyone gets a free entry into a giveaway. You can give illustrations or artwork. I know several fantasy authors who work with an illustrator who creates kind of some artwork along their series. Some of that artwork they put into a book, and some of it they keep as kind of a newsletter exclusive for the subscribers. In nonfiction, you have a lot more options to play with depending on the topic you're writing about. Obviously, there's a free book, but there's also a video training course. A lot of people do that, especially in kind of self-help or business. infographics, checklists, cheat sheets, anything. Just, as I said, go to blogs, to prominent blogs that write about your subject matter, and you're going to see that all of them, or almost all of them, have a lead magnet, and you can take some inspiration from there. You can also offer access to an exclusive mastermind forum or Facebook group. You can do regular webinars, and by signing up to your mailing list, they get access to the next webinar. The possibilities are almost endless. And what I'd really encourage you to do is to be creative, because nowadays everyone's offering a free book for newsletter sign up. It still works, but it would also work if you did it in a more creative way. So here I've got a nonfiction example. It's I was just browsing an orchids blog, because I'm trying to not kill all of my orchids in the flat. So I'm working on that. And obviously they had a little magnet. You can download a free monthly orchid watering calendar. I have no idea how that would technically work. But they're offering that as a free download if you sign up to their newsletter. I'll pay attention to subscribe to the Orchid Care blog, because we're going to talk about that right after. Now I've got a fiction example as well that I really liked. It's a post-apocalyptic author who writes about solar flares. Obviously it's fiction, but in his book there's a doctor who had been predicting the apocalypse for a while, and this doctor has an institute as well in the book. Well, he's created an actual webpage for that institute that you can visit. And on that webpage, you can actually download a free solar apocalypse survival guide created by written by that fictional doctor. It's actually written by the author, but you get the gist. So basically you can go a bit meta with your reader magnets, and this has worked really, really well for him, because readers, they see this link to this institute in the book, and that happened to me. I'm like, is this an actual real thing? So I click on it and I get to a real website. And after a while, you understand that it's fake, but it's still a really nice thing to create this immersive experience that on the internet. And I downloaded the Solar Apocalypse Survival Guide. Really good if you're worried about the solar apocalypse. Now, as I promised, some notes on GDPR compliance, because I know a lot of us are worried about that. You basically have two options to be GDPR compliant. Again, you don't need to tick the GDPR box in the list form on Mailchimp. That just adds an unnecessary extra step. But you do need to do some things. You have two options. First option is on your sign-up form on your website. When people enter your email, have a box that they need to tick in order to subscribe to your newsletter. So if you're offering a freebie, what you can do is enter your email address to get your freebie, and below that have a tick box saying I also want to get your newsletters, basically, or subscribe to my newsletters to get alerts about new releases, promotions, giveaways, etc. This obviously is gonna means that you're gonna lose a lot of subscribers. A lot of them are not gonna tick that box. I think around 30% of people will tick it. That's what we've seen through most studies. So you're gonna lose 70% of people who download your free book or your freebie or whatever you're offering for free. It's one way to do it. It's on the other hand, like the 30% you get are people who really, really wanted to sign up to your newsletter, so are going to be more engaged. It's a trade-off. I personally recommend you go for the second option, like Mark Dawson did, it's without having this unticked box in there, additional, just make it very, very clear in the language that people are signing up to a newsletter. They're not signing up to get free stuff, they're signing up to a newsletter. So here it says, join the mailing list. It couldn't be clearer than that. Join the mailing list for updates and your Mark Dawson starter library. So before GDPR, what I remember, he had like, get my free books. And he changed that, he changed the language there to join the mailing list. So if you have clear language that clearly states that people are signing up to a newsletter to get alerts or updates, you're fine. Cool. So now you've got your mailing list, you've got your sign-up form embedded on your website, you've got your reader magnet. Hopefully, I can't encourage you enough to create a reader magnet. And the next step is to create a welcome automation. The goal of the welcome automation is basically, so welcome automation is a series of emails that subscribers get after signing up, with the objective of, one, delivering the freebie that they signed up to get, and two, turning them into loyal readers and fans of your brand. Because you don't want just people who download your free book, so they sign up to get your free book and to get updates, and through the welcome automation, you send them the free book, and then they don't hear about you until your next release, maybe. And if that's like 3 months after, they'll maybe have completely forgotten about you. Your free book will be in their Kindle, but they won't have opened it. They'll be like, why is this author emailing me about their next book? So you need to have a few more emails that kind of qualifies them, turns them into readers, tells them a bit about yourself. I'm going to go about how you can do that. So I've created this little GIF. For those of you who have never created a welcome automation on Mailchimp, you basically click on Create Campaign, then you select Email, Automated, and Welcome New Subscribers. So again, you'll have the slide, so you'll have this little GIF, and you'll be able to watch it and repeat the steps in there. A welcome automation in Mailchimp looks like this. You've got the list name that you select. So most of you are going to have only one list. And then you're going to have triggers and emails. So the first trigger here, trigger one, is when are people gonna receive the first email in the automation? Generally, in 99% of cases, in a welcome automation, it's when the subscriber first joins your list. So when they enter their email address in their sign-up form and click on join, or when you import them to your list, if it's your first list and you're importing contacts, you want them to immediately receive the first email. What's that email going to be? It's in 99% of cases an email that gives them the free ebook or video course or whatever magnet that they signed up for or that they signed up in the hopes of getting. So in our case here in Readsy, this is our blog list, and we have an offer to sign up, and also as part of the sign up, I think we don't even mention it, but as part of the sign up, they can get a free book launch checklist. Sorry, I'm getting something through the chat. Yeah, I'm going to talk more about GDPR at the end. So here, the first email is designed to just send them the free stuff they signed up for. And then the following triggers are generally based on X days after the previous email, so fairly simple. You can decide when the emails are sent, schedule every day, all day. So if you don't want to send emails to readers during the weekends, you can change that to weekdays, all day. If you want to select certain hours, you can select that. Then you've got filters. So if you've got segments or tags, you can filter by that. It's only going to be relevant if your list is segmented. And then you can choose a post-send action. I don't think that's going to be relevant to most of you. All right. For those of you who aren't familiar with BookFunnel, it's a service I very often recommend when I'm talking about email and welcome automations, because it's probably one of the easiest ways to deliver an ebook to a reader, a free ebook to a reader. So it's pretty simple. You sign up for an account. BookFunnel generates a download page for your book. Then you can send your readers with that first welcome email. You can say, get your free book here. You put a link to that BookFunnel download page. And then on that page, readers can indicate their favorite device, and BookFunnel delivers the ebook to them. So it works very, very seamlessly, basically. All right, I see a couple of questions have come in. I'm just gonna address those at the end. But you can just like keep sending questions in there, and I'll do a quick Q&A at the end. All right. So yeah, book funnels probably the easiest way to deliver an ebook. If you're using other kinds of magnet like free video courses or checklists or templates or things like that, then you can use something else at Dropbox. But for ebooks, book funnel is definitely worth looking at. So we've talked about that first email. What should you send people after that first email? It basically depends on you, on what you're comfortable sending in terms of emails. I know authors who are very happy to talk about them, about themselves, about their family life. If they've got pets, put like pictures of their pets. Other authors don't want to mix like the personal life with their author life, so they're just gonna email about like book stuff. It's up to you and what you're comfortable sharing with your readers. Remember, here you're not marketing, you're communicating with readers who sign up to your newsletter. So you got to keep that in mind. Like, you're just talking to your readers. People are going to answer these emails. So don't write those emails as if you were talking to a reader, basically. As I was saying, first email gets triggered immediately after they sign up to your website, and it's get your freebie book, uses book funnel, and the objective of that email is basically to deliver the freebie. It's pretty simple. Now, 2 days after, you can have something that works pretty well, is kind of fun facts I discovered doing research for this book. So the goal of this is to engage the readers and remind them that they got a free book. A lot of people are going to download free books, they're going to sit in their Kindle, and they're never going to read them. So if you re-engage with them after a couple of days saying, hi, by the way, and here are some fun facts that I found out while doing research or whatever about the book, it's going to make them remind first that they signed up for a free book that's in their Kindle right now, and probably make them curious about that book. So you raise the chances of them opening the Kindle that evening and reading your book. Also, it warms them up to your brand, so that 3 days after, when they get the third email, they're more likely to buy when you tell them, hey, did you know that I've also written these other books that are actually paid and that you can get on all the retailers, which is ultimately your goal when you have a newsletter, a mailing list, is that it brings you sales. So if you've got, for example, for a series with 4 books in there, and you have a free prequel novella as a magnet, and you get a subscriber who has never read anything from you before, but they found your website somehow. So they get your free book, you engage them to that second email, and then the third book, you tell them, hey, do you know I have actually a full series after this prequel novella that you downloaded for free? So I encourage you, if you read and enjoy the prequel novella, that you buy these 3 following books. And then three days after, you can send yet another email just to keep in touch and send a reader poll to them. So I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that, but the idea with that is to segment your list. Basically tell them how familiar are you with my work? There's an author I'm going to mention later who does that really well. How familiar are you with my work and with my series? And based on their answer, they're going to segment their list. They're going to put she's going to put people in different segments based on the universes and series that they've read from her, so that she only sends them relevant emails afterwards. This is especially important if you don't have a huge overlap between your universes and series, or if you write in different genres. If you write in thrillers and romantic comedy, people sign up after after reading one of your thrillers or after downloading a free thriller novella. They're probably not going to be interested in your romantic comedy. So you want a way to kind of segment without creating a different list, to segment these people so that you only send them relevant emails. Example 2, because I was saying there are a lot of ways to do that, and it basically depends on your personality and what you're comfortable sharing with your readers. First book is going to be get your freebie, but you're also going to ask a question in that first book. And this is something really interesting I learned at the Novelist Inc. conference a couple of weeks ago. is that you increase the deliverability of your future emails. So you increase your future open rates and click rates a lot if you get subscribers to interact very early on with your emails. And specifically, if you get readers to answer one of your early emails. Because once you answer an email from someone, whether it's to Gmail, Yahoo, or any kind of email server, that server is going to flag that sender as a trusted sender because you interacted with them, you answered them. So it's obviously not spam, it's not promotions, it's an actual person that you want to interact with. So all the future emails you're going to get from that person are going to go to your inbox. They're not going to go to spam or promotion or anything like that, which is why it's important early on in your first automation, when they sign up, to get them somehow to respond to you. And an easy way to do that is to ask a question. An author I'm going to give, an author I'm going to use them as an example later. She asked whether her readers are more into sunsets or sunrises, and she gets answers about that. Are you more of a cat person or dog person? It's like very simple questions that you think no one would answer, but actually a lot of people do because they want to engage with their favorite author or an author they just discovered. So it pays off to just ask a simple question in that first email. Or even, how did you find out about me as well? So 2 days later, you can send them even more freebies. Or I'm going to give you some examples of like newsletters to sign up to afterwards to get even more inspiration. And a lot of them don't send the first freebie they advertised in the first email. And then the second email in the automation, they're actually going to send more free content because the more the better, apparently. It works for them. And I think that's a big part why they're successful. I think if, as a reader, you sign up for some free stuff and you get even more, you see the author over-delivering, so you're going to be even more interested in what they write. And also, even if they don't open your first book in their Kindle, if they download like 3-4 books from you, these 3-4 books are starting to occupy a lot of retail space in their Kindle. So when they look for their next read in there, they're going to see a lot of different covers from you, hopefully branded in the same way. So they're going to be like, yeah, that's true. If there's this author that I really need to give a chance to, so there's going to be a higher chance that they're going to pick up a book from you. You can also mention an exclusive Facebook group, so some cross-pollination with social media in there. And then 3 days after, you can give them a giveaway entry plus a reader poll to segment your list. And then based on your segmentation, you can finally send them the books that you want them to buy. So it's a more complicated automation. It's got some segmentation in there in the middle. It's going to work. It's going to make sense if you have, again, different universes and different series that don't have a lot of overlap. So if you want even more inspiration, I think the best way to craft an effective welcome automation is to take inspiration, not copy, what other authors have done out there. So I've put some names for fiction and nonfiction. Erica Ridley is probably my favorite author when it comes to email marketing. Her newsletters are just awesome. Her welcome automation is pretty much perfect. I think she's going to write a book about email marketing at some point. So if you see that book coming out, buy it. But in the meantime, just sign up to her newsletter, interact with it, and see what happens, basically. See what kind of emails you get. So there are some more examples here for nonfiction. David Gaughran recently upped his email marketing game. So and he also sends a lot of good advice. If you don't know about him yet, sends a lot of good advice around Amazon optimization, around book marketing. He's got really, really solid books on book marketing. So on top of learning about email marketing from his automations, you're also going to learn a bunch about book marketing from his emails. Now, the welcome automation is one thing. It's going to last for a week or maybe 2 weeks. And the goal is to engage your readers and to get them used to receiving emails from you. But after that, you also need to send them newsletters. They can't wait for a whole year after the end of your welcome automation to hear again from you. Again, they'll have forgotten about you. So here are some ideas to keep your readers engaged. And they all revolve about sending regular newsletters. So the reaction I get to a lot of also from that is, but I don't have anything to tell my readers. I come up with a book every 6 months or every year, and what else am I going to tell them about? I don't want to spam them. And that's a legitimate feeling. But I think you actually do have a lot of things to tell them, or a lot of things you could tell them, and then you don't have to email them every week. You can email them as many times as you're comfortable with. Some authors email once a month. Some authors email once every 2 months. So other authors email once a week. It depends on what you're comfortable with. And also on the amount of news that you have to share with them. But I don't recommend spending more than 3 months without emailing your list, because again, they might just forget about it, about who you are. So stuff that you have to tell that you can tell your readers if you want to send regular newsletters. Obviously, new releases. My new book is out in this series. It's available on all retailers. That's the most interesting kind of email you can send to your readers, I think, when there's a new release. You can also build anticipation around a new release. So you can do a cover reveal, as I mentioned here. You can also do reveal excerpts, give them sneak peeks, let them name characters. It's a really good way, for example, to get engagement on your list, to get people to answer back, is you ask them to name one of your characters on your next book, and you're going to get a bunch of email answers from people suggesting names. And all these people are then going to receive all your other emails, because their email provider, the email server, will have flagged you as someone they interact with. If you're running a price promotion, a discount, also email your whole list, usually. A lot of these people might have already read the book that you're running the promotion on, but they might tell their friends. So that's something to capitalize on. Put some sharing links in the newsletter and say, you might have purchased this book before, but tell your friends about this, that they can get it on special price for the next few days. And link to share on Facebook, link to share on Twitter, link to forward, etc. A good way also to keep your mailing list engaged is to tell them about other releases. And here we're touching on cross-promotion with other authors. If a friend of yours, an author friend of yours, another member of the Authors Guild, you know, who writes in the same genre, for example, releases a new book, you can hit up your list, especially if you haven't sent an email to your list in a while. You can hit up your list and say, hey, my really good friend and excellent author, Charlie Love, just released her first book, or her new book in a new series. If you enjoyed my book, then you're probably going to enjoy hers. I read it. It's awesome. You can get it maybe for $0.99 for this week. So you can basically cross-promote with other authors. And in return, that other author obviously is probably going to mention your next release in one of their newsletters. So it's a really good way to cross-promote and to keep your list engaged. Some people know this as newsletter swaps as well. It's the same basic idea. You can also run giveaways. Signed paperback giveaways always work. You can also just like send them news about your life. Again, it depends what you're comfortable sharing with them. Recently I received an email from an author who was saying, oh, I've spent so much time on planes, but also giving updates on her writing, where she was in her next few books. If as a reader, you're generally interested in that author and the writing process, then you're going to be happy to receive that email. Well, let's just say, think from the reader perspective before you send a newsletter. What would I like to hear about from my favorite authors? Think about like your #1 favorite author sending you periodic newsletters, and think, how often would I like to hear from them, and what would I want them to write to me, basically. Adopt the reader mindset and then apply it to your own newsletters. So that's another question I get quite often, like, can someone take care of all of this for me? Yes, I know there are some book marketers out there that are really hard to find. There are some website designers as well. So you can email me and I can make recommendations for people. We also have some people on Reedsy, but you got to be clear on what these people can do and won't do. So a lot of marketers, of email marketers in particular, will be able to set up your list, your mailing list on your preferred provider. So create the list on Mailchimp for you, for example, create the sign-up form, optimize the whole thing, and place it everywhere if you give them access, or work with your website designer to put it on a website, etc. They can work with you to draft a solid welcome automation. Again, the welcome automation should be personal. So ideally, it should be you writing it. But if you really don't want to do it, you can work with someone or ask someone to write it for you. I wouldn't recommend it, but they would be ready to do that. And then they can consult on like how to segment the mailing list. When segmentation gets complicated, and it can very quickly get complicated, trust me, it can be good to have someone to bounce ideas off of. But that can be a fellow author as well. You don't need to hire someone for that. What no one's going to do is create the reader magnet for you, usually. Like no one's going to write that extra free book for you. No one's going to write your newsletters forever and ever and ever. A marketer can help you set up your welcome automation, but they're not going to keep writing your newsletters. If you hire a virtual assistant, they might actually answer your readers. So a marketer won't answer your readers, but a virtual assistant might. But virtual assistants probably should not write your newsletters. Again, newsletters are personal. They should come from you. And no one's going to take over all your marketing, basically. So you can outsource some of the work on mailing lists, especially in the initial process, setting up the list, setting up a sign-up form, setting up a welcome automation. But afterwards, you got to do the work. And it's, as I said, it's not so much marketing as it is communicating to your readers. It should be fun to do. So we do have some good email marketers on Reedsy. So if you're looking for someone to set that up for you, you can check us out. Or you can ask other authors around you for recommendations. We have a lot of courses on Reedsy, so I haven't mentioned this, but we in particular have a course on how to set up and grow your author mailing list, where I go over all this, not in more detail, but with more screenshots, so more of a step-by-step. So you can check that out next. All our courses are free. We've got 40 of them, and a lot of them are in marketing. So something, again, it's some free content to take advantage of. And finally, further resources, non-Reedsy related on indie book marketing. This book is a must-read on author mailing lists. It walks you through everything I talked about in this webinar and a bit more as well, in more detail, because it's a book, not a webinar. So it's by Tammy Labrec. Again, you'll have the slides, you'll have the links, you'll be able to buy the books. Amazon Decoded is a free book by David Gogren. So it's the typical example of reader magnet. It's a free book you can download when you go to his website. And when you download the book, you sign up to his newsletter. But his newsletters are really, really good. So it's definitely kind of worth it on both counts to get the book and to get the newsletters. This and these two are on ads. We haven't talked about ads, but once you have a reader magnet, and you want to grow your number of subscribers to your mailing list, you can run Facebook ads and you can run Amazon ads on that magnet if it's a freebie, perma-free on Amazon. So these two books are really good for learning about Facebook ads and Amazon ads. And we've also got free courses on Reedsy. But again, the free courses we have are going to be basic, whereas these books are going to go a lot more in depth. That's why they're books and why they're paid products. All right, that's it for what I had to present. Again, you've got my email address in there. You'll get the slides also afterwards. And now I'm going to take a look at all the questions we got because I wasn't able to do all of that at once. So Lisa, I was thinking of setting up a newsletter through my Authors Guild webpage. Should I not, through my AG webpage, should I not do that and use Mailchimp or Mailerlite instead? I'm not sure I get that question, what the AG webpage is. I'd say that if you're going to set up a proper newsletter, a proper mailing list, that's got to be on Mailchimp or Mailerlite or ConvertKit or a service like that, basically. So yeah. But yeah, if you clarify what the AG webpage is to me, then I'll be able to get back to you more in detail about that. Jody, I'm confused about how you get the email addresses for your initial newsletter. As a debut writer, I have none. So yeah, I mentioned this briefly. You can import people when you create your first list on Mailchimp. So you create your first list, you name it, you customize a few things in there, and then Mailchimp is going to ask you, who are you going to be the first people on this mailing list? I recommend you start adding all the people you know who have read your book. So friends and family who have read your book. Not all, as I was saying, not all your contacts from Gmail thrown in there randomly. No, just like people you know who read your book, enjoyed it. If it's just 5-10 people in the beginning, that's okay. It's just 5-10 people. Once you'll have the reader magnet set up and a kind of automated way for people to sign up to your newsletter, you'll grow that number very quickly. Okay. All right, so going back to Lisa's question, it means the author website that she has via the Authors Guild. So there's apparently a newsletter. There's a newsletter function in there, but it's not as advanced as Mailchimp. So check with the Authors Guild about what the capabilities of that newsletter function are. I'd say the more places people can get updates about you, the better. So Authors Guild newsletter, BookBub follow button as well. Amazon Author Central page that readers can follow as well. All these are kind of third parties, whether Mailchimp is something you own, but the more places, the better. Cool, Kathy, is BookFunnel just for sending ebooks? Yes, it is. It's just for sending ebooks, not for other types of content. It's not for audiobooks yet, sadly. And does this replace a blog list? Yes, it replaces a blog list. It's more effective than a blog list. So David Gaughran, who I've been talking about, recently killed his kind of blog list to favor the mailing list instead. I think with a blog list, you can only send updates about your blog. So when there's a new article, you can send a notification by email to all the people who subscribed or who followed your blog, but you don't have the same freedom to send newsletters about other stuff. Again, you want to own the whole thing. It's all about having control over it. So you don't want a third party, whether it's WordPress or Blogspot or BookBub, or Facebook or Amazon, to kind of control the updates you send and limit you in possibilities. With Mailchimp, Mailerlite, ConvertKit, you can send whatever you want to your list. So if you have a blog list, I'd suggest transitioning towards a full mailing list on one of these providers. Thanks, Avanti. So I had something on GDPR compliance. So for GDPR compliance, aren't you supposed to say, one, something about how not you will use their information, and two, how you will ensure protection and privacy of their information? So yes and yes. So if the second, how you will ensure protection and privacy of their information, should be in your privacy policy. If it's in there, you're good. You should also link to that privacy policy on your website and when they sign up on your sign-up form. And something about how not you will use their information. Yes, that's why I mentioned the two options. I'm going to go back to the GDPR slide. Yeah, that's why I mentioned the two options. Here they say the reader actually chooses exactly what they're going to get emails about. So they tell them, you can use my email information to send me newsletters about the Orchid Care blog. Here in the case of Mark Dawson, he says clearly you're signing up to get updates. So it's very clear how he's going to use your information. How to increase open and click rates? Oh, if you find that out, tell me about it. There's a bunch of factors in there. The number one factor on open rates is the subject line. So you have to play a lot with subject lines. We're able to increase open rates at some point in ReadC by just running a lot of A/B tests and finding subject lines that work. So read as many blog posts as you can around subject lines, and then run a lot of A/B tests using Mailchimp or Mailerlite. Both allow you to run A/B tests on subject lines. Other than that, I think it's about keeping your list engaged. So probably not sending too many newsletters and sending relevant ones, and keeping your list segmented. As I was saying, if you write in different genres and you're sending the same stuff to everyone, people are going to stop opening your newsletters because half the stuff they get is not going to be relevant to them. So the more you segment, the more you send emails that are relevant really to the subscriber, the better open rates and click rates you're going to get. But aside from segmenting, keeping the mailing list clean, and playing with open rates, with subject lines, there's no more magic than that. Should you have email signups at all readings? You can. I think you can, and you should. Different authors do that in different ways. I've seen some authors bring just like piece of paper where readers can just enter their email address and then they type it up manually, or their private assistant types it up manually, add them manually to Mailchimp. I've seen others come with their iPad, so the readers can directly put their email address in there. BookFunnels recently come up with a really handy feature, which are book codes. So you can basically create business cards with a book code on them and give them to the reader, and the reader can use the code on BookFunnel to download a book for free, and at the same time sign up to your newsletter. So it's an easy way, instead of collecting their information here directly at the desk doing the signing, which can take a bit of time and be a bit annoying, you can give them a little business card with a book code on it, where they can basically sign up to your newsletter and get your free book when they get home. Sally, what do you think about an audio magnet, giving access to hearing interview excerpts from interviews I've done with noted or relevant people in this particular field? Audio only, not downloadable. Yeah, I think it works. I didn't include audio in my list of examples, but it definitely works. Any kind of bonus content that you can offer will work as a magnet. And more importantly, there are not a lot of audio magnets out there, so you'll stand out. You'll be a bit more original, because as I said, maybe people are tired of like getting always free books. So if it's relevant to your subject matter, and if it's going to attract the right readers, definitely go for it. All right, I've gone through all the questions I had. So if you want to ask another one, I'll stay here for another minute or so, or otherwise I think we're going to end the webinar. And yeah, for those of you who are going to play with things I mentioned in the webinar afterwards, and you run into some trouble or have some questions, really don't hesitate to email me about it. I'm really happy to help directly about personal stuff. All right, thank you, Mary. Thanks for the kind words, and I think we're good.